opportunity doesn't come when you're ready. It calls to you to get ready when it shows up. And that has been how every advancement, every up-leveling has been for me. So what happens, you create this vision. You decide who you want to be in this world. You're called to something. And as you consider what your next level is, maybe what's that one thing that you want to focus in on, that if you could reach that thing, if you could achieve that thing, it would make reaching all your other goals faster and easier. And then take action on it when that big opportunity comes up. Hey, you leader, entrepreneur, business owner, solopreneur, whatever you call yourself, we know you're a visionary business builder, wealth seeker looking to combine a passion for doing good with leading consciously. It's time to shift from a traditional focus of pure wealth accumulation to one that integrates well-being and fulfillment. This is the Conscious Edge podcast, and I'm Alecia St. Germain, entrepreneur and coach. Along with my friend and wellness advocate, Jonathan Duggar, we're diving into what it means to embody radical self-acceptance while still evolving to lead with compassion and kindness. We're sharing our own experiences and expertise as we unpack imposter syndrome, perfectionism, procrastination, and all the other things that lead to burnout and keep you from experiencing pure joy, business growth, and maximum impact. This is a safe and supportive space to explore what it means to be a human creating wealth and building a business. You're here for a purpose, and it's time to shine your light. So here we go. Welcome back to the Conscious Edge podcast. My name is Alecia St. Germain. I am founder of my company, The Conscious Edge, where we help women entrepreneurs and business owners stop overworking and dealing with all of the burnout that sometimes comes with building a business and bringing a lot more joy to the process and really enjoying the journey so that you're not so beat up when you hit that final destination of financial freedom or whatever it is that you're up to and creating. I am normally joined by my regular co-host, Jonathan Duggar, and he just got back from an amazing 6 weeks in Italy. A few episodes ago, we actually talked about what he learned in the process of traveling abroad and what it took for him to be able to take an extended period of time traveling and still continue to maintain his business. So make sure you go back and listen to that. But I am flying solo today because he has a little bit of catch up to do. And then he'll be joining us again regularly within the next week or so. And we're going to be diving into a lot more around purpose and how you align purpose and prosperity and setting goals going into 2025 and how you can approach things maybe a little differently than is traditionally taught, because a lot of times our goal setting ends up creating a lot of burnout because people are so results focused. And so we want to give you a number of aspects. Last week, we started to introduce the concept of kind of being the anti-goal setter, because I do think goals have value, but the way people look at their goals absolutely can create some toxic habits. And so we want to dive into a lot of the different aspects of reaching your goals, living a purpose-driven life, and having the things in your life and the experiences in your life that you desire, and really enjoying the entire journey, because the journey matters, if not as much as the destination, probably a lot more, because when you are happy and satisfied and fulfilled on your journey, you are more motivated to keep going. When you're burned out trying to reach a long-term goal, it's like, is it even worth it anymore at a point? So we're going to be diving into that much more in future sessions. One of the reasons that we started this podcast about 6 months ago was because we were planning a retreat. And we were having all these amazing conversations behind closed doors. And I love long form content. It's so much easier for me to just talk about my ideas, to do coaching in my group sessions. than it is for me to write things down or put together blogs. And so I said, do you want to start a podcast? And of course he was like, no, I don't want to do that, but yes, let's do it. And so it's been an incredible journey for us. So if you have followed along on our journey the entire time, I just want to say thank you so much. It's been such an incredible experience. And I'm so grateful to get to do this with my friend and with all of you who are listening. If you are brand new, I want to say welcome. And I hope that you find something, a nugget, something that changes your day, something that motivates you, inspires you to go out and use your talents and your gifts to create good in the world, because I think our world needs some love and some of what you have to offer to make this world a better place. I think every single soul here matters in the way that we contribute. And so I'm so happy that you're here. Make sure you hit the follow button so that you are notified of weekly when we come out with new episodes. And make sure also that you leave a review, because it really helps us to get what we have to say out to more people. We really love being able to help people feel really good in their skin, feel great about what they're doing, know that they're making a difference. And we need your help to do that. So make sure you share it and leave reviews so that people know that this is a podcast for them. So what I wanted to get into today is, so I just got back from a retreat, actually. It was great for me to go to support another coach, my friend Shannon Matter, and she's a business coach for web designers and anybody in the digital sort of service provider space, like designers, or it doesn't matter what you call yourself. And so she runs this yearly retreat, and I always go with her, and I always love it because I get to go with like my business bestie. But the women that get into that room are so incredibly inspiring and smart, and they do the coolest things. And they're so open to creating breakthroughs and to the coaching that I bring to that part of the retreat. And so it's interesting. One of the things that came up after the retreat was over is we have a WhatsApp where everyone is still connected. And one of the women who had a breakthrough and wanted to play a bigger game, wanted to be able to serve people at another level, took action. And one of the things we do as part of the retreat, and we do this in my program as well. In fact, this one piece came from Shannon. We share a lot of ideas between each other, is we really try to drill down to what's the one thing that you could focus on that would make reaching all your other goals faster and easier. And this isn't a new concept. A lot of people have talked about this, is just getting really focused down to the one thing. And so she figured out her one thing and she took action on that this week. And in doing that, in taking the initial actions to do that, a huge opportunity came her way. And she's like, oh my gosh, in the WhatsApp, I'm freaking out. Right. And I can so relate to that, because what I have learned in my time of building business, like anything I have ever done since I've been an adult and I'm building whatever business it is I'm involved in, whatever it is I'm doing, when I set my mind or make a decision that I'm going to go after something, or I have a vision and I'm stepping into my calling, it's like the moment you decide and take action, when you are not met with resistance, but actually met with an opportunity that is bigger than you imagined, or you're like, oh my gosh, it worked. I can't believe this is happening. And then right behind that excitement of like, oh, I'm doing great, I'm in flow, this was really easy, then steps in this imposter syndrome that makes you freak out and be like, I'm not ready. I don't know if I'm good enough for this. And all of your stuff starts to come up because you're worried that you're not going to be able to deliver or rise to that occasion or do that thing. And so I was reflecting on that and going back and participating in the group and just sending love and encouragement in. And one of the things that I said to her was, opportunity doesn't come when you're ready. It calls to you to get ready when it shows up. And that has been how every advancement, every up-leveling has been for me. So what happens, you create this vision. You decide who you want to be in this world. You're called to something. And as you consider what your next level is, maybe what's that one thing that you want to focus in on, that if you could reach that thing, if you could achieve that thing, it would make reaching all your other goals faster and easier. And then take action on it when that big opportunity comes up, instead of participating in some of the self-sabotaging behavior that comes up. Sometimes what'll happen is you'll get an opportunity, it'll come your way, and it's bigger than you imagined. And so then you don't return the phone call. You delay in the analysis. You defer to someone else instead of, say, I don't think that's my specialty. Let me refer you to someone else. I used to do that all the time when I was in my 20s, more so than later in life once I figured this out. But in my 20s, I never felt enough. I never felt like, even though I was doing well, I knew a lot of things, if I didn't know for sure, if I didn't already have the answers and know that I could deliver really well, I oftentimes would defer the expertise to someone else. I'd say, you know what? This other person would be a great fit for what you need. Let me introduce you to this other person. So I was a great connector, but it was keeping me stuck because I kept sending business, sending opportunities, sending everything over to other people. And what I realized is it created a block in my business, and it created a block, even things. It was like sometimes the business would dry up. Sometimes I'd have these dry spells where like nothing would be happening. And what I didn't realize was there's an energetic quality to this. There's an energetic piece where when you feel resistance, when you are feeling and giving in to the idea that you're not good enough, you don't know enough, you're not capable enough, and you're telling yourself that, it's like this energetic barrier that's put up. And so no opportunities seem to come your way because you're sending out the message, I'm not ready. I'm not available for this. And so what shifted for me was when I realized, well, what if I say yes? And then I trust myself because I know my character. I know the kind of person that I am. And I know you listening, that if you are following this podcast, you are an authentic, high quality human. You wouldn't be here if you weren't. And sometimes I work with a lot with people around authenticity and radical self-acceptance. And so sometimes there's this mismatch between who you know you are and who you think you need to be. And so because you don't want to have to be someone else, because you don't want to be fake or a fraud, you hesitate to say yes to something that you're not ready for, something that seems like it's bigger than what you can deliver on. But if you are that person who cares deeply about what you do in the world, cares about other people, wants to do right by people, is honest, is of the highest integrity. And again, Jonathan would say a lot of those words are loaded, right? Because it's all relative. But if you know yourself to be a good human, then you can trust yourself that you're going to say yes and do what needs to be done to prepare yourself. So I started, when opportunities would come to me, and a lot of times this comes in coaching opportunities or things that I see that I could help with, or I have some ideas for, but maybe it's a step forward for me. It's something bigger than me. I have learned to start saying yes. When someone comes to me and says, hey, it would be great if you could do this for my community, or it'd be great if you could run this aspect of my retreat, or whatever opportunity, whatever it is that comes my way, I say yes. And then I trust myself to put the time in to prepare. So the way that I work through imposter syndrome, right? I'm committed. I commit to it. And then I ask myself, what do I need to be prepared? What do I need to put together, to research, to learn, whatever it is, so that I can show up to whatever it is I'm delivering or whatever it is that I'm doing, and I can know that I have done what I need to do to deliver my best work. And then the other thing that I ask myself is, who do I get to be to deliver it? So if I show up with my, I'm not enough, I don't know, I'm not sure I'm competent, someone else is better suited for me. And if I show up with that energy, even some of the words that I will use will transfer that thought that I am having to other people. And so it's really interesting because you literally will manifest. You'll bring forward exactly what you most fear. So if I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, I'm not enough, and I say, I'm not an expert, or, I've never presented on this before, or if I talk like that, that plants the seed in other people's mind, and whatever weakness or whatever insecurity or a discomfort that they have, they're going to latch onto that if they're uncomfortable. So I don't look for people to fill my insecurities. I don't look for people to say, no, you're doing great. It's okay. You're doing great. Sometimes people do that because they're nice and they want to. And I'm not perfect at this, but I am aware of it. I am aware that when I am in my own stuff, things will come out of my mouth that are not being the leader that I want to be. And so I go back and I reflect on it. I think, next time, I'm aware that I do this. I think I'll be more on point. I'll coach myself better. I'll think through this better so that I can show up the way that I need to show up to really serve people. And so instead, if I go into it knowing I have prepared, I've done my research, I've really thought about the exercise, and I do it from that perspective of I showed up prepared, it's going to have a different energy to it. So whatever it is, whether you're making an offer on a piece of real estate and you're negotiating with a seller, if you are presenting on a topic, if you're engaging a new client, whatever your business is, remember that if you have taken the time to think about even just talking points, what is it that I really want to land with this customer? Or what is it that I really want to make sure that the seller understands? Or whoever it is you're talking to. What is it that people who are investing money into my business need to hear? And how do I show up and make sure I have the answers to the questions I think they're going to ask? So you can ask yourself, what am I worried people will ask? And then create the answers for all those things. If you're worried about getting caught off guard, start writing down every question that you think someone could possibly ask you, and then start answering them. That's all goes into preparation, and all of that is up-leveling you. All of that is making you more expert, more polished when you're talking to other people, and it quenches your nerves. It makes it so that you don't feel like you're flying. What do I say? Like you're just, I'm losing the words here. Like you're winging it. That's it. I said flying. So like you're winging it, right? So it'll make you feel like you're not winging it. And I think one of the things that happens where imposter syndrome creeps in for a lot of people is that you have a talent for something. You have something you're called to do, something that you love to do, something you have a talent to do. And then you rely on your talent. And so when you rely solely on your talent, then you are going to have imposter syndrome pop in, because people who rely only on their talent are not the people who are paid the most. They are not the people who are the most successful. And so talent just isn't enough. But when you mix talent with discipline and preparation, and I don't want to say discipline because I don't even like that word because it feels so punitive, but with preparation and commitment and passion for what you're doing, when you mix that talent with those things and you get really, really good at what you're doing, then that imposter syndrome, it'll always hang out there a little bit, but it's not going to be as loud. So if you're someone who finds that you do get imposter syndrome as you up level, which imposter syndrome is really, you have the talent and the skill, but because you just don't think that you're good enough. And so you self-sabotage yourself and you play smaller than you could because of that. But I find that the thing that cures that is all of the other things I was talking about, all the preparation and things like that. So if you're that human that you can trust yourself, you can say yes to the opportunity and know that you're going to do everything you need to do to prepare. And there's nothing that says that you also have to do it alone. So if you take on something and you need to bring in someone who's more of an expert in something than you are, then do it. It's not about doing everything alone or by yourself. Sometimes it's knowing who to call in for support. And what a benefit that you have the leadership to recognize and bring in additional support for people. You're doing people an even greater service. But to think that you have to be the person who knows everything, that's a lot of pressure to put on yourself. And to think that you have to actually know it before you can say yes, the opportunity never comes because that's what you're putting out into the world. And so as you prepare to up level, I want you to think about, what do you need to be prepared? What kind of game do you want to play? Who do you want to be? How do you want to show up to deliver? Do you want to show up being weak and needing other people to prop you up? Or do you want to show up powerful, prepared, ready to serve, not thinking about yourself, but thinking about how you can help those around you, how you can help the other people who are relying on you for being expert or being good at what you do in your business? I know if you've heard past episodes, you know how Jonathan feels about expert because it's like a loaded term. I think that you can know a lot about things and not have to have all the answers. If you are a curious person, if you are willing to find out, if you are willing to experiment, that is what makes you expert. That is what makes you the authority on whatever your topic is or whatever it is that you do. And you also have to consider what you know compared to what your end user knows, what your client or whoever pays you money, however you make your money. Compare what you know to the people that you provide some kind of service to and what they know. They know less than you. And you are always going to find someone who knows more than you. But it doesn't mean that you can't support people. It doesn't mean you can't keep getting better if you're willing to put in the work for it, if you're willing to do the preparation that it takes. One of the interesting breakthroughs that I had around, and this kind of goes along with that, at the retreat, I find when I am coaching and training, I also get breakthroughs in the process of doing things. And so if you listened several episodes, I think it was a couple months ago, I was talking about hustle culture and about how I see some people who are influencers and who educate people really promoting a hustle culture. And that's one way to create success. But I think there's also another way to create success that works better for people who have other responsibilities, like raising children, family members that they are taking care of, people who desire to live a full life and take this journey of life in a way that is joyful and fills you up, and not just waiting to reach some destination to start enjoying life. So there's lots of ways to get somewhere. And one of the things that I started to realize in that podcast episode was that I had some challenges around my beliefs, what I have to say about a certain topic versus money. So you may have heard me talk about that in previous episodes. And what I realized is I was assuming, we talk a lot about big assumptions in my coaching program. Big assumptions are assumptions about the way you think the world works and the way that you exist in it. And so what I realized is that there's this assumption living in me that the amount of say that I have and the amount my voice matters is related to the amount of money that I make or the amount of money associated with it. So because this person promoting hustle culture makes a lot more money than I do, my opinion has no value, was what my big assumption says. And so what I realized was it's the people who get out there and share their voice and share their pieces, their opinions and their experiences through life and what I've gone through. And the money kind of follows. You don't make the money and then suddenly your voice has power. Your voice has power in the process. And so it's interesting. Money is just one version of power and worth, so to say, but there's life experience, there's science, there's data. All of these different pieces have value, just like money has value. But it's so fascinating to me how we equate those two. And so that was one of the pieces that was coming forward. And so what happens when you have a breakthrough like this and you start to take action on it is more opportunities will start to come. And so I fully expect that the next opportunity will come where I get to use my voice more powerfully. And then what's going to happen is I'm going to need to get prepared for it. The opportunity is going to come and I'm going to go, you know what? Yes, this is what I asked for. And I need to be prepared. And so that's how I'm going to step into that. I'm not going to shy away from that, because when you are on calling in your life, when you are doing something that is your purpose, what you do to serve others, it's what lights you up. I am on a mission for people to be able to do that and make money doing it, figuring out a way to do that. And that's part of what Jonathan and I are digging into at the retreat. So in February, and some of you have been following along and waiting for details on the retreat, we have those details. And I'm going to wait for him. We're going to share more of the details and everything, but we do have our retreat. It's coming up in February. The retreat is 3 days and 4 nights. So it's February 20th, 21st, and 22nd. So you would arrive on the 19th and leave on the 23rd. So it's a Wednesday through Sunday. And we have this incredible retreat house in Phoenix, Arizona, really nicely located. So we're going to get to be able to get out and do a couple things. And also it has a pool and a spa, and it's going to be amazing. And we're going to get to spend this time together. But one of the pieces that was really important for Jonathan and I as part of this retreat is that you be able to connect to whatever it is that you're called to, whatever your purpose is, the passions that light you up, and maybe take a moment to reset and make sure you're on the path that you actually want to be on. Because sometimes people build a business and then they start to lose the spark for it. They lose their motivation for it, and they're starting to burn out and not feel so great about what they're doing in business. And I think that there's a way to always, when you look at the through line or the threads in your life, there's a way to always bring in what that purpose and that passion that you have in. And when you're serving from that place, that's when flow has always dropped in from me. When I'm trying to force something, when I'm trying to be perfect, when I'm trying to only take opportunities that I know I can do, and I'm not really stretching myself to what I'm being called into, things get really stagnant and I don't feel great. But there's this different way of stretching yourself to that next level when it's something that you love, like you really have a passion for and it's your purpose and you feel called to talk about it or called to do whatever it is. It starts to fill you up, even though you're playing a bigger game, even though you're stretching yourself to that next level. So it's so important. So we are going to be starting to fill those spots here. Now, by the time this starts to come out, we'll actually be starting to fill some of those spots. There's only 10 spots available. 6 of the rooms are private. And then there's 2 rooms that can have 2 people in them. So they have like 2 smaller beds. And then every single room has a private bathroom, which is awesome. So we only have 10 spots. And so we'll be starting to fill that up. But if you're someone who has lost some of that spark and you really need that reset, or you're plateaued in the amount of money that you're making, we're going to spend a whole day on money. So when I was at this retreat last weekend, we just started to dip our toe into the money conversations. And the kinds of things that were coming up were so fascinating that Jonathan and I really want to spend a full day getting to some of the money stuff, because it really does hold us back in so many different ways, your relationships with money. I always talk about whatever your belief is around money, there's a light side and a dark side to it. So for some people, the idea of saving money can be a real gift, but if you are hoarding it, then it slows you down. For someone who's like me, money is easy to make. When you have that belief that money is easy to make, that's great. And if you don't learn to monitor your numbers and string them together to understand inflow and outflow of cash and how to anticipate and run scenarios, as my client, Nikki Fraser, and it has become a great friend of mine, talks about being able to run some scenarios and predict some things that could happen in your business, you can very easily get into a situation where you've overspent. And so being able to spend a whole day on that, I think is going to be really powerful, and have some fun. So often we don't take time for rest and relaxation and give ourselves time to work on our businesses versus in our businesses and getting stuck in the day-to-day. So we're really excited to be able to share that with people. And one of the things that's really interesting, when Jonathan and I decided we're going to do this retreat, I was really like, okay, what's our messaging? How are we going to do this? How are we going to put all this together? I went right into the details. That's my default, right? And Jonathan's was kind of like, I think we need to allow for some freedom and flexibility. This is the first time we're running this retreat. We've talked to people extensively. We know what challenges people are having, but also we need some flexibility to be able to adjust and try things. And so as we're being called into this next level, we are trusting ourselves to get feedback, prepare, be willing to change on the fly so that we can create something that's really powerful and tailored to the people who are in the room. So as soon as we get those 10 people figured out, we're going to be talking to those people and saying, okay, what do you want? How can we support you? And we trust ourselves that we're going to be able to create breakthroughs. And when you operate like that, you're not trying to get everything perfect before you ever launch, before you ever take action. And you can make such a bigger impact in the world. You can do so much more with what you're here to deliver, the gifts that you're here to give, the mark that you're here to leave, the way that you're going to change humanity and touch lives and touch people's hearts, even in the smallest ways. Don't ever think that what you have to give isn't enough, because those little ripples that we all create in the world are what make a difference. And you're going to move so much faster if you stop trying to get it right before you move forward, and trust yourself to be prepared when the opportunity comes. When it comes, you're going to say yes, and then you're going to get yourself prepared. So with all of that, I would like to definitely invite you to go to www.consciousedge. I don't even know if I need to say www. I think that's kind of cheesy now, isn't it? You go to consciousedge.com/retreat. Put your name on that wait list. We are filling this from the wait list. And the private rooms are first come, first serve. So make sure if this sounds like something you want to be a part of, if you want to learn to up level, if you want to start to claim this next level that you want to go to and create that vision and really connect to that higher purpose, and then have the support to step into that thing as those opportunities come, make sure you put your name on that wait list. And we'll be reaching out to offer that opportunity to you. So with all of that being said, I'm sending you so much love. And if Jonathan were here, he would say, be well. Thanks for listening to the Conscious Edge podcast. Make sure you subscribe and take a moment to be kind and share this episode with someone you care about. Leave a review to help us bring more compassionate leaders building businesses and creating wealth to the table. And for show notes, head over to consciousedge.com/podcast. This podcast and the linked materials are presented solely for general information, educational, and entertainment purposes and should not be taken as personal or medical advice or any kind of mental health treatment. Please consult a medical or mental health professional if you feel you need such services. Please be advised that all investing and entrepreneurial endeavors involve risk, and the use of the education and information on this podcast and linked materials is at the user's own risk.
This podcast is part of the Sound Advice FM network. Sound Advice FM, women's voices amplified.